Bonjour tout le monde. Good afternoon. I'm pleased to be joined by my caucus colleagues this afternoon to announce additional investments which will bolster the Canada Border Services Agency's capacity to combat auto theft. Many of my colleagues gathered with me today have spoken to me, to cabinet colleagues, and to the Prime Minister about the rise in auto theft that they have seen in their communities across the country. And this concern is shared, obviously, by residents of these communities. We share that concern, and that is why our government is bringing together partners from across the country tomorrow for a national summit on combating auto theft. En préparation de ce sommet, nous avons cherché à savoir ce que nous pouvons faire de plus au sein de notre juridiction fédérale. Nous savons qu'un grand nombre de voitures volées destinées à l'exportation aboutissent dans nos ports, et en particulier le port de Montréal. So today I'm pleased to announce an additional investment of $28 million to bolster the Canada Border Services Agency's ability to detect and search containers with stolen vehicles. The agency will explore new detection technology solutions and the use of advanced analytical tools such as artificial intelligence. This new funding will also enable them to enhance their collaboration with local and provincial police partners and international law enforcement agencies to identify and pursue these car thieves. Lors de ma visite au port de Montréal avec mon collègue le ministre des Transports il y a quelques semaines, j'ai eu l'occasion de voir de mes propres yeux le travail accompli par nos agents frontaliers. Ils travaillent sans relâche pour assurer la sécurité des Canadiens et lutter contre les crimes à nos frontières. Et grâce à cet investissement, nous les aidons à en faire encore plus. Collaboration is key to finding solutions to this issue. And we look forward, many of my caucus colleagues will be with us tomorrow, we look forward to engaging with partners from across the country, heads of law enforcement agencies, provincial ministers, municipal leaders, representatives of the automobile manufacturing sector, the insurance sector, to discussing what other additional measures we can take collectively together. And obviously, we'll continue as a federal government to look at ways we can continue to support law enforcement partners from across the country. Et avec ça, Laurent, j'ai vraiment envie de prendre ta question.
En fait, j'essayais juste de savoir exactement à quoi l'argent va servir. Est-ce que vous pouvez expliquer concrètement, en français, juste à quoi l'argent va servir, de donner quelques exemples concrets?
Ben, par exemple,
ça va avoir un impact sur le vol de voitures.
Ben, c'est sûr que l'argent, l'investissement supplémentaire dans les services frontaliers fera un effort accru supplémentaire en termes d'interdire et de trouver les voitures volées. Par exemple, 5,9 millions de dollars sera pour augmenter la capacité en termes de renseignement criminel de l'Agence des services frontaliers, 3,5 millions de dollars pour augmenter leur capacité d'examiner des containers, surtout aux endroits où les trains quittent, en grande partie dans la région de Toronto, 5,9 millions de dollars supplémentaires pour améliorer les agents, appuyer les agents qui font les inspections des containers, par exemple, au port de Montréal, et j'en passe, 4 millions de dollars pour des nouvelles technologies. Alors, c'est un 28 millions de dollars d'investissement supplémentaire sur une série de priorités que l'Agence des services frontaliers ont identifiées pour nous.
Est-ce que ça va être suffisant, 28 millions? Parce que c'est pas énorme?
On investit déjà des centaines de millions de dollars dans ce sens-là. Et on est toujours prêt, avec nos partenaires qui vont être là demain, de voir qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire davantage. Mais c'est une liste d'investissements que les services frontaliers ont identifié comme étant un élément essentiel accru d'appuyer le travail qu'ils font déjà sur place, que Pablo et moi, on a constaté quand on était au port de Montréal, mais on demeure toujours intéressé à voir si on peut faire plus.
Est-ce que c'est pour de la machinerie, des scanners, ou c'est aussi pour embaucher des agents, des gens qui vont fouiller?
C'est pour les deux. C'est pour embaucher des agents qui vont fouiller. C'est pour embaucher des agents en termes de renseignement criminel. Une des façons les plus efficaces que les services frontaliers ont pour lutter contre le vol des voitures, c'est de travailler directement avec les corps policiers. On a vu, Pablo et moi, des agents du service de la police de la ville de Montréal qui étaient présents avec les agents frontaliers dans l'endroit qu'on a visité. Si on a des agents des services frontaliers qui travaillent quotidiennement avec des partenaires dans les corps policiers des grandes villes, mais ils ont l'accès à des renseignements qui font en sorte que leurs fouilles vont être beaucoup plus efficaces.
Minister, I'm just wondering if you can respond to Ontario's AG coming out today ahead of tomorrow's summit. How would you respond to the call specifically from Ontario, where we're seeing a real soar in the number of auto thefts, particularly in
The Attorney General or the Solicitor General?
Yeah.
Right. I saw Mr. Kerzner's comments. It's very consistent with the discussions that we've been having with him over the last number of months. I saw him when we were in Toronto last week, Arif and I, and other colleagues with Premier Ford. I'm very confident that we'll be able to do exactly the work that the Solicitor General has identified, and we're anxious to do it in partnership with Ontario.
Can we talk about the fact that it's really, just as a follow-up, experts like detectives I've spoken to have said it's really easy to actually steal a car. I didn't know this. I am not in the business of stealing cars, but apparently it's quite simple with today's technology. Is there any talks going on with manufacturers about how to make these vehicles? Yes, can you talk about that?
But very much so, and this is one of the reasons why we disagree with the Conservatives that it's a big wig meeting in Ottawa tomorrow. There are representatives of the auto manufacturers, senior executives that will be there, the insurance industry, and also obviously police leaders. But maybe François-Philippe and Pablo, do you want to add something, Pablo?
If I may, a couple of weeks ago, we're all in the same room, all the CEOs from all the car manufacturers, so CEO from Nissan, Toyota, Porsche, whatever, they were all in the room, and I was asking them, listen, technology is changing, can you provide us some other solutions? So they're looking at that maybe things we're doing. That's why we have a summit. So for us, it's action, not slogan. That's the difference between us and Poiliev.
I'll just add it, and sorry for that. I'll just pass we just have to adjust the height a bit.
Thank you.
But not only we're going to be doing what we say about the manufacturer, but we're going to go after the technology that the thieves are using. That is the issue. When people are saying, well, listen, the summit is tomorrow, so we're not going to say everything today. But I think what you need to understand is that there's a role for manufacturers, and that's what Minister Rodriguez was saying, but there's also a role for government to block certain technology that enable what we've been saying. So I would repeat what Minister LeBlanc said. This is not a show tomorrow. This is about concrete action. We're going after those who are making lives of millions of Canadians difficult. We've seen these things going across the country. And what you'll see tomorrow, and Canadians will be able to see it as we announce them, but they'll be measured to block certain technologies that have been enabling some of them that they can purchase on the internet. So tomorrow you'll see more on that, but Minister LeBlanc was right. There'll be a number of things that we're going to be doing.
What you're announcing, though...
If I could just one other piece, in terms of the private sector, there's also a component with the insurance companies, right? We know insurance rates have been going up. That is a factor for Canadians in terms of affordability. When we bring all of these actors together, what we are doing is addressing this comprehensively. As a Toronto MP and as a minister, I know about this on the ground in Toronto. We are dealing with this across the country. There are MPs behind us that come from literally coast to coast to coast. This is something that's affecting all of us. We're taking action. What isn't helpful is when you have slogans and also proposing redundant changes to the criminal code. There's already lots of tools that exist. We're looking to implement action on this and keep communities safe.
But Pierre Poilievre also said that he would be spending millions, that he would outfit the CBSA with new scanners. Essentially, aren't you just repeating what he said he would do today? Like, aren't you admitting he has good ideas?
No, Mr. Poilievre makes up all kinds of things all the time. He stood at the Port of Montreal and talked about investing in the Canada Border Services Agency after his government cut 1,000 officers that were doing this exact kind of work and planned to cut another 400. They gutted 50% of the officers working in the intelligence unit, the most effective way to work with local police, provincial police, and the RCMP to identify the best way to interdict the stolen vehicles. So Mr. Poilievre just doesn't have a monopoly on the idea that there's some technology that can help the Canadian Border Services Agency. We've been talking to CBSA officials for months about this. Pablo and I at the Port of Montreal 3 weeks ago had a demonstration of some of that stuff. And they're going to continue to do the work with partners around the world to make sure that we have access to the leading technologies. Mr. Poilievre can make something up in front of a gate. It actually doesn't solve the problem. What we're doing is working with these officials that have real expertise and making sure they have the tools to do the work that Canadians expect.
Just on the international.
À quel point est-ce que ce que vous annoncez aujourd'hui va permettre de limiter le vol de voitures? Est-ce qu'il va y avoir une baisse du vol de voitures avec ce que vous annoncez?
On espère évidemment que toutes les mesures accrues que nous allons annoncer vont diminuer le vol de voitures. Mais vous savez, les voitures ne sont pas volées au port de Montréal. Les voitures sont volées dans les grandes villes comme dans les petits centres à travers le pays. C'est précisément pourquoi je suis très content que le chef de police de la ville de Montréal sera là demain, le chef de police de la ville de Gatineau, les maires de la ville de Montréal, le maire de Laval sera avec nous, le chef de police de la ville de Laval. Il faut travailler constructivement et étroitement avec ces services de police. C'est ça que la GRC, le commissaire de la GRC nous parle souvent des groupes de travail conjoints qu'ils ont avec les polices provinciales ou municipales. C'est la meilleure façon de s'assurer que tous ensemble, on diminue précisément. Laurence, qu'est-ce que vous suggérez?
J'aimerais juste ajouter que le fait que ce n'est pas un crime comme d'habitude, comme en avant. C'est un crime organisé. On a déjà des possibilités de changer les règles vis-à-vis des crimes organisés en termes de blanchissage de l'argent, money laundering, as we say in English. That bill is actually on the floor of the House of Commons right now. That's the bill that Pierre Poilievre is telling his caucus to vote against. You can understand why we question his sincerity, and actually I question the hypocrisy that he's demonstrating. If you want to really tackle this, it's not about going after a 16-year-old. It's going after the mafioso boss that's orchestrating that 16-year-old. There's tools to do that. He's blocking those tools.
Can we just talk about the international piece for a second? So again, sorry, I've been down the route of talking to police officers about this. And one detective I talked to yesterday said that some vehicles from Ottawa have ended up in Ghana, in Nigeria, in the UAE. How is Canada working with international partners to tackle this issue? And do we know why these vehicles are ending up in the Middle East?
That obviously is a source of concern that the RCMP are addressing with those partners. We'll have more to say tomorrow about increased resources that we think local police and the RCMP will need to work with Interpol. You're exactly right. And the commissioner of the RCMP has talked to us about that, as has the president of the CBSA, giving both provincial, local police, but obviously with the help of the RCMP, because as Arif said, they have primary responsibility with respect to transnational organized crime. That is exactly what's driving, in many cases, these increased numbers. So we look forward to having more good news about how police can work with organizations like Interpol and international partners in an enhanced way. They're already doing that work, but we think if we give them more tools to do it, it will be part of putting pressure on the organized criminals to reduce what is a very alarming increase, including in the violence of these.
Just one addition there. We know that about 20% of vehicles do remain in Canada, and the value of the summit tomorrow is to address not only the international piece, of course, but to ensure that domestic law enforcement officers and mayors and other stakeholders are at the table to actually plan a path forward together collaboratively. And that is the approach that we have taken and will continue to take, as opposed to catchy slogans and videos.
Monsieur Leblanc, pourquoi tout ça maintenant, un sommet, ces annonces à ce moment-ci, alors que ça fait quand même plusieurs années que les vols de véhicules augmentent en flèche au Canada?
Puis nous ne commençons pas à attaquer ce problème-là demain ou cette semaine. Nous sommes au travail comme gouvernement, évidemment, depuis que nous avons formé le gouvernement en 2015. On reconnaît l'augmentation inquiétante dans ces chiffres, dans le vol de voitures. C'est pourquoi j'en ai discuté avec, Arif était avec moi, avec nos homologues provinciaux lors d'une réunion à Bromont, au Québec, en septembre. Les directeurs des services de police nous parlent de ça souvent. Alors, tout le monde est au travail, que ce soit dans les municipalités, les provinces, au gouvernement fédéral, d'en faire plus. Et on va faire qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire précisément pour diminuer ces chiffres-là. Moi, je suis très content que la mairesse de Montréal sera avec nous demain, le maire de Laval, le chef de police de la ville de Toronto. Il y a énormément de gens qui veulent collaborer ensemble. Et moi, je pense que c'est la meilleure façon d'avoir une valeur pour les investissements substantiels depuis des années afin de lutter contre le crime organisé. Je sais que vous aimeriez qu'on reste longtemps. Nous, ça fera plaisir. Mais il y a un vote à la Chambre des communes. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
Très bonne question.
Merci.